Hi there. In our last class, we continued with the alphabet and we saw the letter C, right? And we learned several words that began with letter C, including some irregular verbs. One of those irregular verbs was the verb CAER. CAER means to fall. But the verb CAER usually is used in its reflexive form, right? CAERSE. Again, let me remind you that in English there are no reflexive verbs, right? That's why I guess the expression sounds very awkward. In Spanish, however, reflexive verbs are very common. So which are the reflexive verbs? For example, here you can see the verb caer, right? The verb ends with the ending of the verb, right? Remember, the verbs end in ar, er, or ir. Caer ends in er. You see, the red letters are the original verb. And in green, we add the ending that indicates that this is now a reflexive verb, right? So literally, caer means to fall. Caerse means to fall oneself, okay? And although in English it may make no sense, in Spanish we usually use the reflexive form of the verb caer to fall oneself, okay? So if I want to say I fell, I will actually be saying I fell myself, right? He fell himself. The pen fell itself, right? That's how we would say it in Spanish. So we will learn how to conjugate the reflexive verb caerse, okay? So the interesting thing here is we will be learning how to conjugate a very used irregular verb, and we will see how reflexive verbs are conjugated, okay? So what you will see in green is all what belongs to the reflexive part of the verb, okay? Myself, himself, ourselves, okay? Okay, we will conjugate the verb caerse in present tense, simple past, future, present continuous, and imperative, right? Remember that what makes a verb be irregular is that the root of the verb what is the root of the verb? It is what remains after we strip out the ending. So the ending are ar, er, or ir, in this case er. So the root of the verb caer would be ca. Okay? So for the verb to be regular, for whatever conjugation, the root ca would remain untouched, and we will just add the regular verb ending that corresponds to that pronoun and to that conjugation, okay? That is not the case in several of these conjugations. For example, yo, the first person in the present tense, where we add this G, letter G, right? Which does not belong neither to the root of the verb caer nor to the typical ending for present tense for the first person of the singular, right, for a regular verb. Let's begin conjugating in the present tense. Tiempo presente. Yo me caigo. Yo me caigo. I fall. I fall. Literally, I fall myself. Tú te caes. Tú te caes. You fall yourself, or you fall. Él or ella se cae. He falls, or he falls himself. Nosotros nos caemos. We fall, or we fall ourselves. Vosotros os caéis. Vosotros os caéis. You fall yourselves. Right? It's the plural you. Ustedes se caen. You fall yourselves, or you fall in plural. Ellos se caen. They fall, or they fall themselves, right? So see how in green we have myself, yourself, himself or herself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves, okay? Remember that vosotros and ustedes are two forms that mean the same thing, only that vosotros is used in Spain, ustedes is used in Latin America. And remember that we also have in Spanish a formal or respectful you, which is usted, and which is very much used in Spanish, okay, which is a very formal language. So usted, although it is a formal you, it conjugates as él, ella. So here we should actually write él / ella / usted, okay? So take a look at this, how the green part repeats in whatever conjugation, okay? You'll see how this repeats itself all the time. And also for whatever reflexive verb we want to conjugate, this will remain the same. Me for yo, te for tú, okay? Myself, yourself, himself. So remember this declination very well. Me, te, se, nos, os, se, okay? So if we want to conjugate any other reflexive verb in the future, we will just replace the verb here, but the green will remain the same, right? For example, levantarse, which means to get up, right? Levantarse literally means to lift oneself, right? Or get up. If I want to conjugate levantarse, I would say yo me levanto. I get up, or I lift myself. Tú te levantas. Él se levanta. Nosotros nos levantamos. Vosotros os levantáis. Ustedes se levantan, and ellos se levantan. Okay? So let's continue with the verb caerse, now in the simple past, pasado. It's also known in Spanish as pretérito indefinido. Okay? Yo me caí. Tú te caíste. Él se cayó, or ella se cayó, for he or she fell. Nosotros nos caímos. We fell. Vosotros os caísteis. Vosotros os caísteis. You fell, you plural. Ustedes se cayeron. You fell. And ellos se cayeron. They fell. Remember how that ustedes and ellos always conjugate the same, okay? So the conjugation for ustedes and ellos is always identical, although ustedes and ellos mean different things, okay? So, ustedes se cayeron means you fell, but literally it would mean you fell yourself. Ellos se cayeron means they fell, but literally means they fell themselves, okay? Future. Let's begin with this future. Future number 1. This is the simple future in Spanish, right? Futuro. Yo me caeré. Yo me caeré. Here, in the future tense, you will see that this verb is perfectly regular, right? Yo me caeré. Tú te caerás. Él, ella se caerá. Nosotros nos caeremos. Vosotros os caeréis. Ustedes se caerán. Ellos se caerán. For they will fall, or they will fall themselves. Okay? Now let's see future number 2. I call future number 2 this other modality of future tense that is very much used in Spanish.